welcome back to the program Mickey Choi Ho and Allison Bach from United. Thank you guys for joining us. And you're coming on to talk about a not so fun subject sometimes, reserve and money coming out of the reserve to pay for things that are unexpected or surprises, but kind of expected too in terms of maintenance, right? So what's been going on? What's the latest update?
Well,
Mickey, go ahead.
this is budget time, so we are working on the budget. But everybody is interested in, again, the assessment fee next year. And on May 14, a United Mutual Board passed a resolution, which is supplemental budget appropriation for dry rot repair for $500,000 from reserves to provide funding for unanticipated repair expenses.
Right.
So
and that's what the reserve funds are there for, right? These kinds of things. That's why you have a reserve when you discover something, and that just, these are very decades-old buildings, and there is maintenance to be done, and so it's expect the unexpected kind of thing, and that's what the reserve's there for, right?
Yep. Exactly. Right. So when you look at the assessment 2024 figure, then there are many categories that we set up for the fees that presidents pay. The reserve is the biggest chunk of the money that we are paying for. So everybody might, wondering, oh yeah, generally we know what the reserve's for, but what is the reserve fund? So we need to more understanding about things.
Right, and there's laws and there's regulations that mandate how reserves can and can't be used, correct?
And how much they should be.
And how much they should be, at what levels, what is a good, a healthy reserve, or you're too low, or whatever those things might be, right?
Exactly. So it is established original construction of mutuals, and purpose of reserve funds to provide for repair, restoration, replacement, or maintenance of structural elements and mechanical equipment within the mutual, including but not limited to replacement of designated appliances, roofs, paving, laundry equipment, walls, vertical lifts, and windows, etc. So we have every year we call a green book, which is a business plan for the whole year. When you look at the United Mutual Reserve Fund 2024, there are some figures, and from 2023 to 28, but actually we are planning for whole 30 years. So we have a beginning balance, but we have some interest because we are putting in the savings, investment accounts. And then from there, we kind of calculate the assessment fee. So contribution will be the income. So 2024, we pay $171.23 per manor per month for United Mutual only. Anyway, there are some examples of the table on the.
And every homeowner, everybody who lives in a homeowners association understands that that's just a fact of life. You part of your assessment is paying into a reserve fund. So in case of a roof collapse or a roof just regular repair, fence repairs, sidewalk repairs, trees, all those things that oh no, a couple trees fell down or whatever it might be. Those are things that naturally happen. And my understanding is that when it isn't managed properly, then sometimes the homeowner association says, "Oh, we're going to have a special assessment to replace all the pipes," and all of a sudden everybody's hit with a major monster bill, right? So there's a due diligence in the management of that to make sure you're not doing these special assessments, right?
Yes, and people can think of it in the same way as when you were living in a home, and most of us came from individual single-family homes. Most people set aside in their savings account money for those big repairs, for the roof, for the painting of the house, and so on and so forth. That's what reserves are. It's for those anticipated as well as those nasty surprise kind of emergencies.
You know the roof. If you have a 20 or 30-year-old roof, you know the roof is going, but then you also find some termite damage. There's the, we know that there's a factor, but we weren't planning for that. So then the reserve comes into play.
Right. So actually, California Civil Code 5300 requires a reserve study. We do not just set it up, randomly. So it requires a reserve study, and we have a professional company working with us for planning 30 years. And a reserve study is a very valuable tool to help budget responsibly for property. It contains all the information needed to avoid surprise expenses, make informed decisions, and save money and protect property values. So regardless of property type, upon completion of construction, every major building component begin a predictable process of physical deterioration, as you know.
Right.
So here, operative word is predictable, because planning for inevitable is what a reserve study by association reserve is all about. So reserve study is art at the same time science. Because we are planning for future, but with the very
good luck with that, unless you have a crystal ball.
exactly logical and scientific way of doing it.
Right. So there are things you just know are coming, but then there's things you can't anticipate. And I also, there's also the reality of preventative maintenance that goes into like hey,
Absolutely.
let's say the pipes in the wall where they're at their 30-year lifetime.
Right.
Are they leaking yet? No. Should we
No.
wait till they start to burst, or should we do something like that?
Right.
So there's always that. Has there been feedback from the community in terms of like the most recent $500,000 out of the reserve? What are folks saying about that? Do people get a little bit upset sometimes?
Not really, because who's going to say, oh, don't fix the roof? Oh, don't fix the dry rot. We can live with that. Maybe next year, maybe 5 years. No, I think the understanding is very clear. When we know there's a problem, it's up to the board of directors to be fiscally responsible and say, hey, we're fixing it. And I think people clearly understand, I want this fixed. And if you've ever had any work done in your manor, you want that work done right, done quickly.
Yes, get it in, get it
right,
out.
right,
Because it's such an
exactly.
inconvenience when they're breaking into your walls and doing all the things they're doing up in your attic and those kinds of things.
Right,
Always
I don't
on
want
a
anybody in my
weekend.
attic.
Always on the weekend, too. Yeah.
How important is it for folks to understand how the reserves work? Or do you think this is a good idea to come on and really talk about these things and make people understand that it's not just a giant piggy bank saving account that you guys are sitting on and we just taking people's money every month?
Sure. Of course, because it shows, the component list and what kind of work to be done in advance. And then we have a budget for this year, but like the dry rot repair problem, and sometimes we don't have a budget, but we have to spend it. So reserve fund account balance could be really influenced by those factors, and then it will affect the next year's assessment. So that is a big concern, and people really wants to know more about it. That's why we are talking about this issue.
Let's talk about what is a strong as opposed to a weak reserve fund. When maybe a homeowner association takes money out, but they don't replenish as they should, and the reserves kind of can get low, and then that can be a danger zone, right?
That's right. So when you study the reserve fund strength, this reserve study really identifies estimated current replacement cost of in our case, just under $91 million, but the fully funded balance based on formula defined in civil code, it's another code, 5570B4, is about $44 million as of January 2024. So projected reserve fund balances are estimated to be $15.6 million or 35.5%. So example is shown there. So that 35% is going to be at the scale of the strength level. So next chart will show that one.
Sure.
It is, so when you look at the color code there, yellow,
it's a little hard to see on television, but
know,
you can see like there's the good, there's the when it's too low, and those kind of percentages, and the
Right. So Yellow one is a medium, the risk level. Red one is a high, and then of course green. And we like to be in
We want to be in the green, right? A low risk in terms of reserves.
Well, but what the red means doesn't mean we're in trouble, we're out of money. It means what is the risk of a special assessment being required.
Right.
And that's what the red means. When we're in that zone, it's like, a little light here on the money, we need
if
to
there's a
beef
major
it up.
problem like a repiping or
Correct.
something huge that is going to affect every single one of the residents.
That insurance wouldn't cover.
That insurance does not cover, right? The
Right.
regular maintenance is not covered.
Right. Those are the two factors that we can do something about. We can stay insured,
Right.
and we can do regular scheduled maintenance. So that red line isn't necessarily a cause for alarm. It just makes us aware that we have to beef up the contributions to reserves to get back into the yellow.
And there's also the realities, and I know that this happens sometimes, maybe there is a fire, there's something that the insurance is covering, but the homeowners association and the insurance company are going back and forth about how we're going to pay. And in the meantime, a homeowner is out of place, so sometimes they'll take those reserves, start the repairs, and then wait for that reimbursement. So that it needs to be there for those kind of emergencies as well, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
you're
Right.
absolutely right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to consider that the company that does the reserve study comes in here every 3 years and does a walk around, a literal walk around, goes through the whole village, or at least the United part of it. That's the only part we can talk about. But they are specialized accountants, and they know the buildings. They know the Southern California real estate market, and they can give us very accurate information for every 3 years. And then every single year, our own finance department relooks at that and updates it.
Right. So that is included in the budget price, the whole budget that we are doing it, and we can see the real detailed list of the project that we've been using from the reserve fund. And biggest one is, of course, construction and restoration, remediation. I mean, we are living in a 60-year-old building right there.
Right.
Yeah.
So we apparently see that we put a lot of our attention and focus on those projects.
And I imagine inflation has also put a little bit of an increase in the cost overall for materials and work too, right? So that's a challenge.
Right.
So in conclusion, as we kind of wrap up here, what are some of the things you want to make sure people understand and know?
Right. So last board voted that $500,000 extra, which we did not plan on it, and that comes from the 2024 reserve fund. And also on top of it, we had a lot of rain, so we had a moisture intrusion problem. So last year we had a lot of project done, and there was some reimbursement income we expected. And the 2024 budget was set as we will expect about $1 million income in 2024. It was not the case. The project was finished 2023. So total $1.5 million is insured. So we are utilizing our reserve fund for 2024, which means that we have to make up next year and on. So people should understand that, and we do our best to have a careful study and real sincere, review again.
Right.
So that we could have a right amount of assessment for next year. That's why we are doing it.
Well, you guys, folks over in United should be very happy. They have some board members working very hard to make sure all of this is working and working well. And it is a lot of work. The stack of paperwork you guys walked in with alone that you have to review it's quite a climb.
This is a complete reserve study material. So I just wanted to let you see.
Well, Mickey and Allison from United, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate the update. One more thing real quick?
Yes, one more thing. The whole board of directors, United Board of Directors, would like to offer our appreciation to all the United military families, those who served on duty, and those who served by staying home, waiting and praying for their loved ones. So happy Memorial Day to all, and we appreciate your service.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you so much for our veterans.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you guys. And when we come back, we're going to talk to the folks from Rock of Ages. Stay with us.